So we are doing October 25 paper 4-2. Okay, first question says this is an object-oriented programming question, or इसमें we have the variables here, constructor, etc. So we'll just move to the question directly. Write the program code to declare the class word and its constructor. Do not declare the other methods. All attributes should be private, and then in Python include declarations. So this should be very simple. Just have to do the declarations here. So we go into the code. Okay, so class is called bird. Then we go and we see that we have distance per hour, species, x position, y position. Okay, and then we have the constructor which will initialize species and these values to parametric values, and then x and y to 500. So these would be fixed values. So I'll quickly do that. We have defined dash dash init dash dash self name, or not self name, it's self. Then we have distance per hour. Then we have species, and then we say self dot. So did they ask us to make them private? Okay, yes, all the attributes should be private, so double dash. Okay, so self dot dash dash species is equal to spec, and then we have the self dot dash dash distance per hour is equal to dph, and then this would be a string value. This would be, in fact, this would be a float value, a real value, and this should be a string value. Okay, and then we have self dot dash dash x position is set to 500.0, and then self dot y is also set to 500. Okay, simple enough. Then we go to part 2. They're saying write the get species method, which returns the species of the bird. So we just have to write the getter method. So we'll do get define get species and get distance. Let's write both of them. Okay, so then the next thing we have is we have the getter methods. Then in the next part, they're saying write the get position method, which returns a string in this: x is equal to x position and y is equal to y position. And the example would be x is equal to this, y is equal to this, write get position. Okay, again, very simple. So we have defined get position and we write self here. So there's no parameters, there's only self by default. And let's call it message is equal to, we'll create an f string. So we have x is equal to, and then we have here the self dot x position and y is equal to self dot y position. Okay, and then these values are integers, so we can convert them to string, or format string will automatically do that for us, and then we return the value of the message. X is equal to this, y is equal to this. Okay, then return the message. Okay, we'll move to the next part, part 4. If the bird is traveling south, if the bird is traveling north, then we have to check the directions. The vertical position increases. If the bird is traveling south, the vertical position decreases. If the bird is traveling east, horizontal increase. West, horizontal decrease. So we have to write move. Takes the direction of the travel as a parameter in form n or s or e or w, and then takes the number of minutes that the bird has been flying as a parameter. Okay, so there would be 2 parameters, and then calculates the distance traveled by the bird using the formula distance per hour multiplied by 60, and we update the values based on the distance calculated. You do not need to validate. Okay, so validation will always imply that we have to use some sort of a while loop, or basically to check for errors until correct value has been inputted. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we move on to the question now. So we are going to write define move, and we have self here, then we have the direction, and then we have the second value was minutes. The bird has flown, so let's call it minutes maybe, or mins, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so if direction is equal to, so the first let's go in normal direction, so north, and north will be, so north is a vertical increase and then south is vertical decrease. Okay, so north, then we have LF, we have south, so I'll just copy paste. Then we have LF east, and then we have LF west, like this. Okay, so when the direction is south, they're saying you have to change the vertical. So vertical is the Y position, and the horizontal is the X position, right? So we'll simply have to operate. So L self dot dash dash X position plus equal to the minutes. So minutes won't be added. Self position is equal to self position plus equal to. So now they're saying that we have to update the vertical or the horizontal position. Okay, so let's calculate the position here, or we can say the current position or the new position, whatever you want to call it. So new position would be equal to self dot distance per hour divided by 60 times minutes. Okay, how do I know this? It's given in the question that it will calculate the distance traveled by this formula. So distance per hour divided by 60. I'm doing that, distance per hour divided by 60. And then in the next part, they are saying that we have to divide it by the minutes. So that's what I'm doing. Oh, sorry, multiply by minutes. So that's what I'm doing here. And then we have to update the vertical or horizontal position. So whatever, let's call it the distance. So whatever the current distance is, we need to add it into the current position. So the position would be updated. So if the bird or if our item was, let's say, on a grid, if this is point A, point B, point C, so if we were at point A and we update the position by one coordinate on the X or on the horizontal, so from point A we go to point B. So this is where we are now. The next time we go to point C, etc. Okay, and now we repeat the same thing throughout. So we don't even need to copy paste this line. We can just bring it outside here. We just calculate the distance once and we update the positions accordingly. So north is X position, and then south is also X position. So here we have minus the distance. Then we have east, where horizontal position is changed. So these should be in fact Y, vertical, not X. Okay, so east is X position, and on east, let's see, what did the question say? On east, the word position will increase. Okay, the horizontal position will increase. So plus equal to distance, and then finally we'll do minus distance, because in case of S, the position will decrease. Okay, simple enough. Then we go back and they're saying that you do not need to validate. So this should be the whole program. Then they're saying the main program creates two instances of bird. The first is this species with this speed, and then the second one is macaw and this speed, and you have to initialize the two birds. Okay, again, simple enough. So we'll just hide the code for the bird. So we're not getting confused by the indentation. So we'll write the main function here. Maybe leave some lines. Okay, and then we create the bird. So let's call it p1 is equal to bird, and the values are 71, and then the name is cocktail. Okay, so like this, then bird2 is equal to bird, then the value is 56, and then the name is macaw, like this. Okay, that's it. You don't have to apply any functions here. So then in the next part, they are saying that the main program needs to output a message that includes the species and the current X and Y position for each bird. Okay, so we have to print out some values here. Then they are asking from the user to select one of the birds to move and take this as an input. Okay, so first of all, we'll give the choice of 1 or 2. So let's see that. Okay, so I'll just write some comments here. So first, so validate bird 1 or 2. Okay, once that ends, then they're saying that prompt the user to enter the direction and the bird has been traveling and take this as an input. Okay, so again, this should keep on happening until the correct direction has been inputted. So then we ask for direction. Could be north, east, south, west, and then we keep on validating if that is not the case. Okay, then they're saying prompt the user to enter the time to the nearest minute that the bird has been traveling and take this as an input. Okay, so once all of this is correct, we have to ask for the minutes then. And then they're saying call the appropriate method upon the chosen position. So whatever the position is, we have to call the method to update distance. So call to update distance like this, and then output an update on the bird's new position. And the question says each input needs to repeat until validator is input. All outputs must be meaningful. So until the value of the bird is correct, until the direction is correct, it should keep on inputting the values. Also, let's look at the time. So time should also be taken care of. And they're saying that the time would be distance per hour is between 0 and 100 inclusive. Okay, that is given to us. And then, yeah, that is pretty much it, I think. There is distance. Okay, so here we go. So in the move, the flying minutes should be between 0 to 500 inclusive. Okay, so we have these further checks here now. So if I go back and just comment in the code, so the minutes will be between minutes were between 0 to 500 inclusive. Okay, and then the distance for r is between 0 and 100. So the distance should be between 0 to 100. Okay, I'm going to comment all of this out. This is just there for our planning part. And let's bring this code here. Okay, here we go. All right, so in order to write this now, we will go step by step. First of all, let's ask the user to enter the species. And until and unless they don't write the correct species, we are not going to proceed. So we'll ask the user to give an input. So maybe let's ask it bird number is equal to empty string maybe. And then we say while bird number is not equal to 1 or bird number is, it should be and bird number is not equal to 2. So until these conditions are not the case, until they're not true, so we keep on repeating. Okay, so then we'll keep on asking for the user to input, and this should be an integer value, or since this is an integer value, we should just set it to 0 initially or -1, whatever you guys want to do, like this.
क्या
Okay.
मतलब मैं समझ
So either you can just set it to -1 as we discussed, या फिर आप यहाँ पे you can just ask the user to input the bird number here at first as well. So if they input 1, then the loop will not work. If they input 2, then the loop will also not work. But if they write 3 or 4 or -1 or 5 or anything, then the loop will keep on repeating. Okay, so this will guarantee us that only bird 1 or 2 would be entered. Okay, moving on and going back. Prompt the user to select one of the birds and take this as an input. Okay. Then we have to prompt the user to select, okay, prompt the user to enter the direction the bird has been traveling and take this as an input. Okay, so this is the next part now. We have to, also they are saying that in the first part, output the message that includes the species and the current X and Y position for each bird. So we have to use the getter methods as well. So every time the user will not input the correct value, we should output something. So we'll say enter bird's number, and maybe we can output, before that we'll output enter 1 for, so let's put this in a format string, enter 1 for, and here we'll have the word 1, and we'll get the species, which is get species, like this. Have we written this function or not? Let's see. Get distance. Okay, we have a get species here. Okay, I'll just refer to here. I think this should, the G should be uppercase. I'm just keeping lowercase for now. Okay, so this will be the first message, and we'll say it is, and we have to output the X and Y position. Enter one for bird species which is flying at, and then the function was get position. Okay, get position will give us both X and Y, and which is flying at, and we'll say p1 dot get position like this. Okay, so this will be 1, and then we do the same thing for the 2, and I just change these to 2, p2, p2, and we have p2 here. Okay, and then we ask the user to input the bird number, and if the bird number is not valid, so we keep on repeating until the choice is inputted correctly, and we should put this in the loop as well. Or you can just put this inside the loop, totally up to you, instead of outputting it before as well. Okay, with this done, then the next part was enter the direction that the bird will take. So we'll choose the direction here now, and then prompt the user to enter the time to the nearest minute. Okay, so let's ask the user to get the time. So that would be another check now. So the minutes are supposed to be between 0 to 500. Okay, so we'll ask the user the same thing. So we'll repeat time or minutes is equal to enter the number of minutes like this, and then we have to check while minutes are less than 0 or minutes are greater than 500, because that is the range. So if that is not the case, we will ask the user to input the minutes again, and we should tell them that they must be between 0 to 500 like this. So it gives a good idea. So as I said in the question, that the output should be meaningful. So this makes it meaningful. Okay,
minutes part.
then moving on. So next we check. So the minutes are done. So, and in the next part, they're saying prompt to the nearest minute. So we've already done that since the value is in already converted to integer. So even if they input 156.7, so it would be converted to the integer form. Okay, and then we have the direction of the bird that the bird has been traveling, and take this as input. Okay, so we have 4 options here now. So we'll ask the user to input the direction. So we'll say direction is equal. So direction is equal to, ask the user to input the direction, and we should also tell which direction. So between north, east, south, or west, like this. Okay. And then we again use a while loop. So while the direction is not equal to now north and east and south and west. So NESW until that's not the case. So we keep on inputting the value again and again. All right. So once all of this would be done, so this loop will only finish when the bird number is correct. This loop will only finish when the minutes are correct. This loop will only finish when the direction is correct. So by the time we reach till this point, we are guaranteed to have correct set of values like this. Okay, anything else? Let's check. So we are supposed to take the bird 1, direction 2, time 3, and that's it. Okay, now we are going to update the position. So they're saying call the appropriate method to update the chosen bird's position. Distance. Okay. Okay, so we will write the check for the final check now. So we'll see if the direction is equal to north, then what do we have to do? So we have to call the function move here, which is going to take the direction and the minutes here. So we already have the minutes inputted by the user, and then we also have the direction here. So if the direction is equal to n or north, and we check the bird type as well. So it should either be 1 or 2. Okay, so depending on that, we have to update the position, because they said that Okay, so if direction is north, then we have to check whatever the bird is. So if the bird number was equal to 1, then we simply have to move the first bird, the bird 1. So we'll say b1 dot move in the north direction, and then we'll update it by the minutes that we had inputted, and then we repeat the same thing. Else that is not the case, it must be obviously bird 2, then we move bird 2 in the direction of north, like this. Okay, then the second condition would be elif direction is equal to east. So first we check if bird number is equal to 1, then we'll move the bird in east direction. Else we'll move bird 2 in east direction. Then we check elif, so this will all be repetition if it is south. Then if it is bird 1, we're going to move bird 1 to south, and else if that is not the case, so we're going to move bird 2 to south, and else there's only one uh, possibility left, which would be west. So if bird number is equal to 1, then we move it into west. Else we move the bird to the west, right? And there is an easier way of writing this condition. We can just put the directions in one array. Let's call it uh, directions or something. We put it here, and then we just check while the direction is not in directions, like this, right? So this will just simplify our condition. So as long as the value that you input is not part of this array, we will keep on repeating the same thing. So this will further simplify the code, and that's pretty much complete. Now going back to the last part, they're saying test your program 4 times to meet these criteria. Okay, so we have to test for 60, for 30, for 30, and for 60, and also output the update on the bird's new position. So we have to do that as well. So at the end, we'll write, you have to get the species for the first one. So let's call it output one maybe is equal to f string. So we get the, what is the name, b1 dot get species, and we say is now at. Okay, so since we have updated, or is now at, and we get the position, then we have output 2, and we do the same thing for the bird 2, and then we can just print the message output 1 and output 2, and then we just have to test it, and it will definitely work.